Tarot Beauties. How are you? This is our latest friend, Luna. She is the latest addition to the family. No. Here we are. She's going to be around as we do this. So we are about to get into the Major Arcana. We're going to go card by card. And in preparation for doing that, I wanted to make this little video. Plus, I have a whole thing coming tomorrow with a stand for my phone. It has a light and everything. So we are going to get into that tomorrow. And my hope is that I just want to make one card videos and send them off to you because it is a lot of information and we want time to let it sink in. So before we get there, let's just go over a few things. First off, accountability here. How are you doing with your cards? Are you reading your cards? Are you doing a card of the day? How are you keeping it in your life? And know that it's okay to have times when you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't even looked at my cards in like over a month. That's fine. That happens all the time. And I always say, you know, not every day is a day for reading. Some days are days for going out and doing the things that you're going to ask about later. We need to live the life so that we can then have questions, right? We got to make the mistakes that we can analyze later down the road. So sometimes you just need to go out and live. But it is important to just keep that awareness. And there's a lot of times that I might not be physically picking cards, but it's still on my mind. And there's still things that I reference. And I might think, oh, it's the first day of a new sign, like, gee, it's the 21st. What's the new sign? And then just kind of contemplate it for the day or the morning, you know, but of course it kind of stumbles into your thoughts throughout the day. So just want to encourage you guys to try to look for ways that you can keep the tarot in your life, even when you're not just physically pulling cards. You know, maybe you could think, oh, today's the 8th. What do I know about the number 8? And today's not the 8th, but let's say it was. You'd be like, what do I know about the number 8? How does that feel? You know, you might reflect if you have a birthday or you just had a birthday or the new year just came, you can kind of recheck your numerology and reflect on that. Or maybe you hadn't reflected on the year that you're in since the beginning of the year. And now we're, you know, coming through the first half. We're kind of done with the first half. How are we doing? You know, we're about to enter the last quarter or the last quarter. The last half. We're about to enter the last half. And so you can reassess, how has this year been going for me? So just wanted to remind you that there's a lot of ways to keep that tarot energy going and keep our minds sharp and learning and really applying the wisdom to our current day-to-day life. So just a little reminder to keep it going, even when you're not physically pulling cards. Also, how are your rituals coming? You know, when you sit down to do the cards, and maybe more than just like a card of the day, but actually sitting down to do any kind of a reading, have you been working on your ritual of what gets you into the moment? So setting a space for your readings is always really important, and it's completely up to you what you want to use. If you want to lay a special scarf or piece of cloth down to lay the cards on. I personally don't like doing that because I feel like it gets all messed up and I like everything just to be like nice and flat. And so I like to do it on a nice soft blanket. I also like to have 4 elements present when I do a reading. So maybe some type of a bone. I think we've gone over this, but just as a refresher, maybe a bone or some flowers or a seed. You know, all of those things can be representative of earth. Obviously, we think of crystals most often, but anything from earth really can work. You know, if you just got a bunch of fresh herbs from your garden, put some herbs on your altar. It all is representative. When you're looking for water, a cup of tea can always be that water, and then you're drinking tea at the same time, or having some moon water that you made last month or 1 month. You can always bring a little moon water. You can always have something from the sea, like a seashell, I think is very indicative, or some sand. I brought some sand back from a vacation I had that I incorporate onto my mantle, and it's black, and I love that. It's so cool. So there's a lot of creative ways that you can represent water without just having water. And then air, of course, anything that you smell. And so incense can act for the air, the feathers, of course, for birds. Also, and this is kind of my own thing, I think sometimes having music can be air, can because it's what's in the space. Yes, we're listening to it, but I think it's in the space, it's in, it's a little bit of a far-fetched one. But again, if you're connected to it, it works. And then fire, obviously fire. But I wanted to point out that I made a little ritual kit for a 5-year-old for her birthday, and I put sunflowers, little fake decorative sunflowers in there to represent her fire, because obviously she's not going to be lighting candles or anything. There's no fire. So the sunflowers were that indicative piece of fire element. And so there's other things you could do too. Like I even think like putting some cayenne pepper could be representative of fire, because it's so spicy and it's so hot. So be creative when you're putting your things out there. But representing the 4 elements is always a good place to start. I like to have all of my, fun altar things all together in one spot, and then I'll kind of go and be like, ooh, what do I want to take? What do I want to pick? And then I'm just kind of like picking the little things for this particular reading. And when you're reading for other people, it can be really fun, because you're like, you tune into them and you're like, what would they like? I think they would love this shell. I think they would love this. And a lot of times when I do readings, there will be some type of a reference to the things that I chose, whether it comes up and I'll be like, oh my gosh, that's so funny because I picked this and that makes me think of it. Or they'll point it out and be like, oh my gosh, that makes me think of this, or I love that. And so it's really fun to create your altar, because it's that little mini warm up of starting to tune in and connect, and you're also honoring the space that you're trying to be in. Next up, I wanted to go over offerings. There are many things that you can do to make an offering to certain gods or goddesses that you want to work with, or ancestors or spirits, guides, whatever you're personally working with at the time, or that you want to connect with. Or maybe it's just God, maybe it's just source that you just want to make an offering to, whatever, to whomever, whatever. If you're not sure, it's okay. But tobacco, they say, is a really great offering for spirits. But I think that you can offer whatever you want. When I was in Bali, I saw they would make these little dishes, these little baskets out of the leaves, and they would, weave them to make this little basket. And then they would put flowers, rice, like a little cracker, maybe like a coin. And I never really got the full story, but they were offerings, and you would see them everywhere. And so I'm like, okay, there's like something to eat. There's some flowers, there's some beauty, there's like food, there's money. So it's like maybe just offering, in a way, I think what makes a good offering is something that's important to you that you are letting go of. That's an offering. It's not an offering to be like, I've got some shit in the back I don't want anymore. Do you want it? No, it's like saying, I've got this that I use all the time that I love. I'm going to give you some. So if you're thinking about making an offering, it can be anything. It could even be some of your moon water that you pour with the intention of saying, thank you. And I'm sitting here with gratitude, and I'm humbled at the chance to work with you to gain clarity. So think about making your offerings. It can get really elaborate, but it also can be really simple. And it's just really think about the energy that's happening when you make an offering. You're just saying through your action that you're showing up humble and grateful for the opportunity. So just reminding you of all the things about doing your readings. Tune in, set the scene, make your offerings, and have fun. Don't forget to have fun. And then finally, I wanted to say, I think it would be great, similar with what we did with the Minor Arcana, lay out your Major Arcana cards all in a row so that you can really begin to see the story. So I'm excited to dive into it. I'm not going to give too much away. I just wanted to set the scene that we are going to be examining one card at a time, starting with the Fool, and we're going to look at all the symbolism and all the aspects. And in the meantime, lay it out 0 through 21, and in a way, think about as if it was a picture book, you know, like a children's picture book, and you're just trying to put the storyline together yourself. Just be naive, be the Fool as you look at the Fool's journey, and just take it in and see, you know, where. One thing I want you to do. So let's say you have all your cards laid out in front of you, right? When you see a card that you're like, oh, like the Fool, I would say the Fool's a pretty good card. Like, it's exciting, it's a new beginning, it's optimistic, it's great, right? So just move that up a little bit. And then maybe you come to a card like the Lovers, number 6. That feels good. That's finding a counterpart. That's respect. That's being honored for who you are. That's being seen. That's finding a reciprocal outside of yourself, an equal. That's friendship. That's love. That's support. That's a great relationship, right? That's somebody else out there, that reflection back to you. The 6, I would be like, ooh, that's a really good card. Then you might come to something like the Death card, which really is a beautiful card, but it's uncomfortable, right? Because something has to die in order for what is needed to be born or to flourish. So Death card, kind of, they're all good because they all lead to, you know, number 21, right? It all leads to the world. So they're all necessary steps, and they're all necessary good steps. It's like putting a kid in timeout, you know, it's not fun, it's hard, but we know that we're teaching the child structure, boundaries, limitations, how to follow rules, right? I'm no child psychologist, so, you know, maybe timeouts aren't the best, but you hear what I'm trying to say. Sometimes we have to go through the uncomfortable and the hard in order to get to the good. So if you see the Death card and you're like, ooh, that's a hard one, just put it down a little bit. You know, maybe you see the Hanged Man, which again, really good to get new perspective on things, but can be hard to change your own perspective. It's a little difficult, pull that down. We come to the Strength card. That's so amazing, it's strength by grace and leadership. Put that up. Now you might come to another card like the Empress. It's the Mother card, right? She's great. Card number 3, doing her thing. I don't know, is it good? Is it bad? I mean, it's a really feminine energy. Just leave it. Just leave it right there. You know, Judgment. Do you see the Judgment card as a good or a bad thing? I think it's kind of balanced, right? Because Judgment's about being fair. So I would leave the Judgment card where it is. But this is a fun way to introduce yourself to the cards by just kind of laying it out, get the storyline, and then kind of step back and go, oh, maybe it kind of makes a steady up and down. Who knows? I want you guys to try it and just see what you see. You know, familiarize yourself before we start diving into the actual specifics about it. Just engage. That is your step number 1. And next video, we will be back with the Fool. Say bye-bye, Luna. Here we go. Here's Luna. Luna says bye-bye. Oh, she's taroted out.